The Turnpike Sports Book Report is brought to you by BorgataSports.com. Your favorite casino is now your favorite sportsbook. Available anywhere in New Jersey, BorgataSports.com. Sign up at BorgataSports.com using our promo code PIKE, that's P-I-K-E. Make your first wager of $20 or more and you'll get $100 in free bets. That's $100 in free bets when your first wager on Borgata Sports is $20 or more. Get into the action with BorgataSports.com. Must be 21 years or older and in New Jersey to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And welcome to this week's edition of the Turnpike Sports Book Report. We're going to be talking this week about the state and national sports betting reports that have come out in the past week. We've got sports betting deals to talk about, a lot to deal with Canada.
Yeah, Canada. April 4th was a
Yes.
big day in Canada.
It was a big day for deal making as well.
Yes.
So a lot of deals have come out since it launched. We've even got some domestic deals in the United States to talk about. We've got an update on the D.C. sports betting situation back from the Super Bowl when the D.C. lottery app went down for betting.
All right.
We've got a new horse racing betting authority to talk about, as well as Tennessee releasing their NFL draft betting guidelines.
Nice. Okay.
And at the end of the day, we're going to be looking at a couple legislative updates, two coming out of New England to keep you updated. And no, it's not Massachusetts.
Okay.
So let's end that drama right there.
It's never going to be Massachusetts.
No, not right now anyway.
No.
Starting off with some numbers this week. We got a lot of benchmarks to hit. And usually I start off with New York. We do have New York numbers to talk about.
Sure.
I'm going to start off with Arizona. Arizona, last week we talked about them releasing their numbers. They released their January numbers, and Arizona became the 8th U.S. state to accept more than $500 million in handle in a month.
Okay.
The only state that went quicker to get the $500 million mark was New York State.
Okay.
Everybody else is taking a little longer than Arizona. Arizona is only 4 months old, given by the January numbers. Arizona bettors.
Let me tell you something. It's a great market, but they
Yeah.
got to pick up the pace and reporting their numbers. I mean, we're always waiting for Arizona. I mean,
Again, I
look how
understand
impatient
it.
I am.
I know it's in this age of instant gratification.
Well, New
with
York.
data,
You mentioned New York. They do it every week, don't they?
they do it every week,
Yeah.
just about every
All
week.
right.
Sometimes they do it on a Friday, sometimes they do it on a Monday, and I'm sure in the next book report we're going to be able to talk about New York's numbers for this past week.
What I will say about Arizona, they're slow, but they're worth the wait.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm trying to
Well, you gotta
curtail
remember-
any emails I'm going to get from people from Arizona.
I'm assuming Arizona's reporting speed will pick up as the market matures. It's still a brand new market.
Mm-hmm.
So give them some time. They're still doing it. I mean,
let me tell you something. They might be doing that for a reason. We're talking about how late Arizona reports their numbers. So, it's free publicity. Hey, good for them. Maybe it's a marketing thing.
Well, Indiana also reported their March numbers.
Okay.
We're 2 months ahead of Arizona of talking about March numbers now.
All right.
Indiana, they had a handle of $476 million. With that report in March, they passed the $1 billion mark in handle for the current year, 2022.
Wow, pretty good.
So congratulations. They are on a record-setting pace already.
That's a very good market. I mean, I think we talked about them last week, and I was surprised how far up they are in the list of states and the list of top sports betting markets. I mean, they're up there. I mean, they're top 10, aren't they?
Yeah. But you also got to remember they were one of the first ones to launch too.
Sure.
It was like New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I think Indiana was like the fourth or fifth market to launch.
You never hear about that.
No, but they have been one of the more mature markets, if you want to consider since 2018 mature.
Sure.
So they have been doing well. Like I said, $1 billion mark in handle for 2022. They are also the fifth state to surpass the $7 billion handle mark all time.
All right.
You want to take a guess on the other four? Since they're number 5.
So what's the actual category I'm guessing now? What is
$7 billion handle all time.
This post-PASPA kind of thing?
Yes.
Well, I guess Nevada would have to be thrown in there.
Well, again,
Nevada, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Depends on who you talk to. Nevada.
Michigan?
No,
not Michigan.
No. 4 states.
Nevada, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
The other latecomer when they by the way, they've been reporting their numbers quicker now. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Every month they've been coming a little quicker. So kind of nice to see that market speeding up a little bit. Let's talk New York. Again, we've got New York.
Or we just say they're awesome every week and then just move on. I mean, we're just wasting time saying how awesome New York is.
New York has already passed $5 billion in handle. $5.2 billion handle. That was at the week ending April 8th.
Okay.
So we're talking now here. We're starting the third week when this is released in April.
So they might. What are they? $5 billion now.
$5.2 billion.
They might
since the launch. At
by
the end
May
of January.
1st. They might have $7 billion.
They may have $7 billion. They may do it.
Let me tell you
sooner.
something. With all the betting on the Mets and the Yankees that are going on right now in New York and New Jersey and whatever, but I think they might hit $2 billion. So.
Well, they're moving right along. Besides the $5.2 billion in handle, they also have produced $320 million in revenue, which has been, I don't want to say shattering, but they have earned more in 2-3 months in revenue than some states did all last year.
Sure, absolutely.
I know Pennsylvania didn't hit this kind of revenue last year. New Jersey, I think New Jersey may have.
The next big state you're going to see that has the impact like New York is California, and I don't think they're
nowhere near.
Nowhere near. I think they're going to have something on the ballot in November, but New York is it right now.
Well, you got to remember the ballot initiatives in California are all going to be sued on.
Yeah,
there's one right now that's being sued on. I think that's the one that's supposed to be on the ballot. So we're looking at down the road here for California. Sure. But as far as New York goes, they've also generated $151.7 million in tax revenue already.
That's why you do it. That's why you allow sports betting.
Here we go. Here's Pennsylvania. That $151.7 million in tax revenue is nearly $30 million more than Pennsylvania's tax revenue from last year.
Okay.
So, again, you're looking at, that was the record. Pennsylvania had the record. New York just blew right by it in 3 months.
Yeah, like its population density. So.
And also that high tax rate, too. That has a lot to do with it,
Well, that's true, too. Yeah.
You got to remember, 51% does allow
crazy,
these numbers to go a little higher.
Kind of skews the numbers a bit.
Oh, one last number I want to throw out at you because I thought this was funny. Going back to Arizona. I forgot to. It's in my notes here, and I just wanted to hit it. Okay. It's just a good little trivia piece. We just talked about Arizona. They had a record handle in January, and I think every month they've had record handles been going up and up and up. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see what February is like because that's the lull month for everybody. Arizona bettors $18.2 million in bets each day in January.
Wow, pretty good.
That's actually an incredible number.
That
for
is
that market.
Very good. Yeah.
So those are the numbers for this past week. We're going to have more next time. One other number to throw out at you just to end the segment with Ontario, since this is the first week we haven't talked Ontario.
Yeah.
We're going to talk in deals, but not for the numbers. And I think a couple of our interviews have relayed this thought too. They're talking $800 million in gross revenue in the first year for Ontario.
I believe it.
They're projecting that. That's going to be a very, very lucrative market.
That's a big territory. So a lot of online players there.
Okay, let's talk some deals.
All right.
We actually have the first of its kind deal for a peer-to-peer sports betting site. We have Wager.
Okay.
Down in, I want to get the state right because they did a sports betting partnership with Nashville SC.
Soccer club?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a Major League Soccer team.
Can I just say I've never heard the SC denomination.
That's an American.
It's always FC.
That's an American derivation of football club.
One of the soccer teams in New York is New York FC.
Right. Well, this is also an MLS team. Major League Soccer team.
Well, I think the New York one is.
That's
too,
what I'm saying.
So.
They both mean the same thing. I think in some teams.
I just had to throw that
SC.
out. I've never saw the SC thing.
And you also got to remember there may be an FC team down there that's just not in the MLS, and that they can't use that FC.
Right. Okay.
So, but the peer-to-peer sports betting site Wager had their first deal with an MLS team. It's also the first deal between a Major League Soccer team and a peer-to-peer wagering site.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
have you tried any of those yet, or I haven't tried that yet?
I want to say yes, but no, because quite honestly, I don't think Wager has launched their peer-to-peer side yet.
Okay, they just made the deal. So,
they also have the straight sports betting launched in Tennessee. They're live in Tennessee.
I don't know how that. I guess you just go and you start communicating with people, or how does that work?
Take Facebook and mix in betting. Because you go online, it's a community, and you start talking to other people. Hey, you want to play? You want to bet against me on this game? We'll set this, and then you go ahead. There's no house.
Okay,
but they do have a straight sports betting side, which is what got.
Do they make money? Is there
Tennessee.
a vig kind of thing that they make money on each bet?
On the normal sports betting side, I'm not sure about the peer-to-peer. I'm assuming they have to take something for setting the market.
I mean, they have to.
Yeah, it's just the only way
they have to make a living.
Money. But they're going to be. They got activation rights at Geodis Park, which is the new soccer stadium for this football club.
Okay.
Built specifically for these guys.
Okay.
They're also going to have, for all 17 home matches, Wager will put 2 activation tents at the stadium to engage with fans and join the city's expanding soccer community.
Cool. Can't wait for it. I'd love to try it, though.
I'm actually curious to see how some of these deals. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to let people try it at the game.
Yeah, no,
without any money.
I would love to try it.
Going over to another deal, we have U.S. Integrity. U.S. Integrity has been making deals with everybody regarding sports betting monitoring as well as integrity, and they just did a deal, or they just announced a deal with PointsBet Canada.
Okay,
this actually happened back in January. This deal. But
I love seeing all these deals coming out of Canada. I mean, April 4th happened, and boom,
we've got a lot to talk about here. So we've got U.S. Integrity with PointsBet Canada.
Okay,
it's actually U.S. Integrity's first international deal.
Oh, really? Okay.
So that's the reason I'm bringing it up. It's the first time it's outside U.S. regulated market. Every other deal USI has done has been with the casino industry in the markets that have been in the United States. But again, PointsBet Canada. We have National Hockey League expanding their deals, and I want to make sure I get the two parties right here, because they did expanding the deals with BetMGM and FanDuel. They expanded their deals in Canada, so BetMGM can now offer more extensive promos and boosts for the NHL in Canada. Kind of curious to see what FanDuel does. They didn't announce what they were going to be doing, but I'm assuming since FanDuel has already done a deal with TSN, we might see some expanded NHL offerings on TSN.
You know what I'm waiting for? The deals with the professional teams and, the smaller, purely Canadian ones. We had Paul Burns on, the CEO of the Canadian Gaming Association. We had Greg Warren on, who's a outstanding reporter in Canada for Better Collective. And, they're reporting on all the deals and things like that. But I'm waiting for it. And they all mentioned who is it? Cool Bets or Cool Bet or what things like that. I mean, they're not household names in the U.S., but I'm curious to see if professional teams will start making deals with them.
I'm very curious to see if any of
I'm rooting for the underdog here.
So. We talk about like here in the United States, we have Action 24/7, Tennessee Action 24/7 for Tennessee by Tennesseans, however you want to say that. I'm wondering if any of the distinctly local Canadian outfits would actually try and get a U.S. license at some point.
Yeah. Well, my question. I guess later on we're going to run the interview I had with Greg Warren from Better Collective, and I asked him, all these Canadian teams making these deals with Canadian sportsbooks, do you think U.S. teams will start making deals with Canadian sportsbooks? Because the point I made was,
a good point.
Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, when they play a home game, all they play is U.S. teams. I'm wondering if, like, the Yankees will do a deal in Canada with a Canadian sportsbook. It'd be very interesting.
It's a very.
I'm curious about the regulation. I'm a lawyer in the U.S., not in Canada, so I'm not too familiar with the Canadian rules and regulations. But I'm wondering if that will happen in the future.
Oh, we'll see. Like I said, both those things are kind of interesting points to even explore at some point.
Yeah.
But two other deals to talk about. PointsBet Canada did a multi-year deal with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. I mean, that's the big company.
Sure.
That's all the pro teams.
Well, Maple Leafs did a deal with another.
They're doing deals with everybody.
They're doing deals with everyone. Yeah,
all of it's non-exclusive.
Yeah,
So,
well, I just mentioned his name, Greg Warren. He reported on it. What was that?
So they are now a official sports betting partner. PointsBet Canada is official sports betting partner of the Maple Leafs, the Toronto Marlies, the Raptors, the Argonauts, and Toronto FC. There's the soccer team.
The Toronto Marlies?
That's the minor league hockey team. Even Greg mentioned it, too.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know what Marlies. Where'd they get that name?
That's the AHL team.
Okay.
For,
that must be the owner's
for the
name
Maple
or
Leafs.
something.
I don't know. It could be anything.
Marlies?
It could be a bird.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
And last but not least, for the deals, Flutter did a first-of-its-kind deal with both two of its brands under its overall umbrella with, who else? Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment.
I know we talked to Greg about that one.
This was the first time Flutter has ever done this, two brands in the same deal.
Yeah, so what was it? It was
PokerStars, and FanDuel.
And FanDuel.
FanDuel became Maple. I want to say it right. Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment's official sports betting partner, and PokerStars became the official gaming partner.
Yeah.
And that's not just for poker; it's actually for casino.
Yeah,
too.
they have an online casino.
So as soon as I think PokerStars has to go through some more approval and licensing before they actually do this deal. But once this deal is done, they're going to be able to have this deal complete, be the first of its kind, like I said. I don't think they've ever done anything like this overseas either.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the Super Bowl, Gambit DC, which is the app run by Intralot.
Yeah.
During the Super Bowl, which should have been one of the most lucrative times, they got shut down out of the Apple Store. And so nobody who had an Apple device could use the app.
What weird timing.
Well, again, it's one of those mishandled updates.
Yeah, I guess.
And the software update wasn't approved by Apple, so Apple kicked the app out until the update came into compliance with what they need them to be.
Okay.
But Intralot paid DC, or paid to the DC Lottery, an amount of $500,000.
Okay.
For the lost money for the Super Bowl, as well as some inconvenience.
Okay.
And,
all right.
Again, the app, let's make it clear, the app didn't shut down completely. It was still running on Android, and it was still running on the PCs.
So it was okay on
Apple
computers.
devices were shut down.
Apple devices.
Right.
All right.
We have the NFL draft coming up. So
I got to tell you, that's all I'm hearing about betting-wise. That is such a huge event betting-wise. It's just incredible. There's radio programs just devoted to mock drafts and who you're going to bet on and who's going to be in the top 5 and top 10, and it's just constant.
Well, Tennessee has released...
And by the way, I haven't even looked at my draft stuff.
Well, the state of Tennessee,
all right,
through the Sports Wagering Advisory Council, the SWAC, released their 2022 NFL draft guidelines.
Okay.
All the sports books have to follow these guidelines.
Sure.
And some of these kind of make sense. I mean, all pre-draft wagers must be made and accepted before the first selection of the draft.
It makes sense.
In-draft wagers are only permitted in the first 3 rounds.
All right.
Also, in-draft wagers must be placed and accepted by the books at least 2 selections before the actual selection they're betting on happens.
Okay.
That's kind of interesting.
By the way,
they have that.
I don't bet on the draft beyond the first night. I mean, I
bet on the draft.
First off, I kind of lose interest after the first night because, I can just look at my phone and see who's everyone going with. I don't need to watch it. But no, after the first night, I kind of, betting-wise, I fall away.
Well, the last one is, like I said, two selections before the one you're betting on.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be hard to do if you're not watching a delayed draft.
Yeah, well,
I mean, see, the other problem is what happens if the book is following along without the delay?
Well, yeah, no. Sometimes there were what was it? The ESPN and the NFL Network. Sometimes they're not in sync.
No,
exactly.
No. Well,
so I don't know if it's that big of a difference, or I'm sure any delay would be a source of concern for betting wise and things like that. But no, it's an interesting point. So.
Yeah, and again...
And speaking of draft, you won big last year on draft.
I got Trey Lance right.
Trey Lance, you got that right.
His draft position. That was the only draft.
By the way, that was the biggest
right.
shock for me, and you told me, oh, yeah, I bet on that, and I got it. So.
I just heard too much chatter from the Niners about wanting him, and when they moved up to number 3...
Yeah.
I figured let me put the bet right before he got selected, which was actually good timing on my part.
Yeah, no, very good.
So, last note for the this segment here. New horse racing betting authority was just announced. The Association of Racing Commissioners International, RCI, launched a new subsidiary called the Sports Betting Regulators Association.
All right.
The SBRA. They will be empowered to oversee all betting-related activities within the horse racing industry. They're going to have their...
Don't they have that already?
This is now an independent subsidiary inside the horse
independent
racing
subsidiary?
Yes.
Or...
They're part of it, but they're not part of it.
Well, wouldn't it be better if you were independent, not to be a subsidiary of anything?
Well, they're the horse racing, the racing commission.
If you're independent, be independent. Don't be a subsidiary.
I'm assuming this is like an administrative office where they have a administrative court dealing with one thing, then they have the regulatory side. So they're going to have their first.
Boy, am I splitting hairs too on that one.
You are. You're going right into the weeds on that one.
I'm independent, but I'm work under this other association.
First session will be July 10th up in Boston.
Okay.
So looking at those things, we've got...
Now, will this be open to the public kind of thing?
Well, it's happening at the Spectrum Gaming's National Council of Legislators.
Okay. It'd be very interesting to poke my head in on this and see what they're doing.
I'm very curious to see what they do.
Well, sports betting was supposed to help the horse racing industry. And,
yes.
Hopefully it has.
Let's talk some legislation. First off, Kentucky, not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Nice and simple. They didn't have the votes.
By the way, big news stories coming out of Kentucky. A lot of people were trying to bet on the March Madness.
GeoComply released those numbers.
A lot of people in Kentucky were trying to bet.
Matter of fact,
in
I have
other
those
states.
Numbers in my notes. Let me go get those so you can have those.
All right, good.
So we can actually hit that one.
Yeah. So what was happening? People were sitting in Kentucky and they were trying to bet online in another state. Was it Missouri they were trying to bet in? Or?
It was 3 different states.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
3 different states.
Yeah, right. They were just trying to get some betting in for the March Madness. So it was something like 500,000. Fails. If you want to call them that. So
well, some of those could have been just
people want
you
sports
weren't
betting down there.
It's
just that they can't push it through the legislature.
Yeah.
They got it all the way through, but they didn't get a vote on the final day of the legislative session for this year.
I'm curious if news stories like that really motivate the legislators, or they're just not listening to the people.
I don't know.
They're not.
I can't answer that.
Obviously, people want to bet in huge numbers. So,
some of these states have a huge hump to get over in terms of the religious backgrounds of the voting population, and also their constituents too. So you got to
have strong lobby groups on either side.
Last 2 things for legislation, we've got New Hampshire and Maine.
Okay,
Maine seemed to be moving right along nice and smoothly. I know a lot of people were upset at the governor's bill that was giving the tribes exclusive control over mobile sports betting.
Sure.
So now a group of legislators have introduced a rival bill.
All right. So
they're going to be possibly voting on it very soon. If not, they already have by the time this airs. So we'll see what happens there. It's by a lot of the constituents, by the actual casinos in the state.
Okay.
So they want the casinos to have their say in terms of how everything's run.
Which, is kind of logical.
And last but not least, we have New Hampshire. New Hampshire is looking into Twin Spires.
Yes. Apparently, Twin Spires, I don't know how far along they are in the purchase of I guess it's a charity room called Chasers is it Salem, New Hampshire?
Salem, New Hampshire.
Yeah. I mean, I guess...
well, it's regarding the Twin Spires app.
Yeah.
Not the historical horse racing machine.
Well,
that's already got the approval to go in.
Yeah,
so.
they're going to. I don't know what they're going to do in Chasers, but I know they're going to put in lots of machines dealing with horse racing or
historical horse racing machines.
Historical, and I guess they're virtual horse racing machines. So,
but the Department of Justice for New Hampshire, or the New Hampshire Department of Justice, is looking into Twin Spires because even though it's a horse betting app, and a lot of the people up in New Hampshire use it for betting on horse racing, it still technically is supposed to go and be approved and regulated by the New Hampshire Lottery, which is not.
Well, shouldn't they have done that?
Well, they've been
checked them out in the past.
They've been trying to close this loophole in their legislative and administrative rules for a while now, and they just can't seem to get that done. Twin Spires, we've been using this phrase with Canada. Twin Spires is a gray market app in New Hampshire.
All right. Well, well, let me ask you something. Will New Hampshire looking into Twin Spires, will that delay the purchase of Chaser's Poker Room in New Hampshire?
That might be a little leveraging by the lottery if they want to get those historical horse racing machines in.
That's true.
So that just came across the wire the morning we're doing this.
Very interesting.
We'll see what happens there. It'll be fun to watch that one.
Yeah.
That's it for this week's book report. Keep those press releases and news stories coming in. info@turnpikesportsradio.com. And look forward to talking again next week about some more deals and sports betting numbers.
That'll do it for us this week. We'll see you next time on the Turnpike.